Hey everybody, how you doing? So I am going to get set up. We're going to start streaming to Facebook, and then we will go live with the webinar on advanced design techniques. While I'm doing that, you can check out this awesome print behind from the Harris Co. Doing some awesome printing here in the office. So let's go ahead and share the screen. So right over here, we'll be using this wonderful project from the Munoz brothers. And now let's go ahead and kill my video. Well, let's go ahead and leave that on for a second. And then let's go live on Facebook. All right. Okay. Hey everybody, if you're joining us on Facebook here, we are ready to start our webinar with live power design. So if you are a Fundy software user, you probably see use the auto design, use all the time-saving features, but let's go ahead and show you some of the more advanced features. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop this video, but if you have any questions, so go ahead and if you're attending the live webinar, go ahead and ask the questions in the chat panel or the Q&A panel here. And then also, if you are on Facebook, go ahead and just ask the questions in the Facebook comments, and we'll work on answering those. Jack is on the other end here listening in. He's going to be monitoring all the comments on Facebook, etc. And relay those to me. So if you have any questions, let me know. So let's go ahead and dive right in. I've killed my video feed, and so now you can see just the screen recording. So this is a beautiful wedding by the Munoz brothers, and this entire album was done with the auto design. So if you just use the auto design, here's a wonderful way to get an album in just a few seconds. But now let's show you how to do some, a little bit more advanced techniques. So let's go ahead and double click on this photo. Oh, before I show you this, a lot of people don't know, this icon right here lets you grab pages and drag them anywhere, so you can reorder the pages in your album. Maybe the auto design didn't put things quite in the order that you'd like, so you can move those around. Move this back over here. Let's go ahead and click the layouts button. So the first thing a lot of people don't know is, in addition to this button and this button, when you go into a spread, there's little arrows on the right and left-hand side, and it gives you a lot more options. Okay, let's go back. There's a square. So that's a nice little feature. Now let's go ahead and jump into design view, and I can either click this view button or I can double click on this spread. And now we're into the design view, and you see all of the guides. Now I'm going to hit the G key so I can turn my guides off. So one of the things you'll want to do if you want to get into the more advanced features is, under the help menu, go to keyboard shortcuts, and that will pop open our keyboard shortcut PDF, and you can see that here, and it's separated into alignment, design, views, all of that stuff. So this is a nice thing to print out and have around for just while you're designing or doing in-person sales, so you can learn those keyboard shortcuts and really speed stuff up. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the guides off. So let's talk a little bit about resizing of the drop zone. So if you just kind of resize willy-nilly, it's going to redo all of the images. And we can do the sides and the top. Now, a lot of our keyboard shortcuts are the same as those shortcuts in Photoshop. So I'm going to hold down the Option key, or you can hold down the Alt key if you're on a Windows computer. And while I do that, it's going to keep that drop zone centered. So you see the top and the bottom are moving at the same time. And I'm going to keep that moving up until you notice that it pops into a row. So that's a nice little trick. Additionally, you can hold the shift key if you want it to keep the proportion of that drop zone, or both of those shift, option, or alt keys if you want to keep the proportion and the centering of the drop zone. All right, now let's go ahead and hit the V key, go back down here, and let's open up this spread right here. And let's take a look at this drop zone set. So up here in the top right, we can change the ratios. So I'm going to go square, and we can change them all to square. See that here? So you see that there? Oh, sorry, that was me drinking some water. It's a little louder than I expected. So now all of the photos are square in there. But what if I want to change just these two photos to be verticals? So I can do that one by one. So I can change this to a vertical, and then I can change the other one to a vertical. But if you hover over this icon, it says that if you hold the shift key, you can affect the adjacent images. So that's all of these images here. So I'm going to hold the shift key and change both of those to vertical. So a lot of control on how you want to change, you know, those items, or change the aspect ratio of the photos within the drop zone. Now let's talk a little bit about alignment, etc. So one thing I'm going to do is, let's take this. By default, this drop zone will snap into place. It's kind of hard to see that right here. Let's move this one over just a little bit. And so in the top left-hand side, you'll see, let's turn the guides back on. So when the guide's back on, you'll see that when I snap that into place, and you can feel that, the little blue smart guides pop up. I'm going to snap that into place right there. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about alignment. I'm going to bring this over here, and let's pop this up here. So alignment right here, if I do the center align the drop zone, this is to center align the images within the drop zone. But if I do center align the drop zone, you'll notice that it pops down into that center space right here. So now I want to bring this out and bring this over here. And I'm going to bring this up here, and I'm going to show you really quick what happens. So the center alignment, we try to align things intelligently how you'd like them. So when I chose center alignment here, it didn't center it on this page, but it actually centered the drop zone between the edge of the paper and the edge of this drop zone minus the cut line. So most labs will give you a cut line, that's this red mark, saying that after the book has been built, that most likely that orange block or that red block will be chopped off during the bookmaking process. So all of our alignments are from the inside edge of this red to the next drop zone or whatever is next to it or whatever you're centering in. And so what that will do is it will help the photos appear centered on the final print. Because if we toggle the guides off, it looks like this is not centered because this white area is bigger than this white area. But we're expecting this left side to get chopped off. So that's why centering works a little bit differently than the actual centering on the page. We center based on what the final book will most likely look like. So let's go ahead and close that. And let's talk a little bit about how to move photos in drop zones. Let me get a page that has quite a few images on it. Okay, so let's take this page here, and we have this drop zone here, and we obviously know that we can swap photos. So let's, I'm swapping two verticals and horizontals, but you can also swap a vertical and the horizontal. And the great thing about this is that we want to design around your images. So if you swap a vertical and a horizontal, most likely you don't want them to be cropped vertically and horizontally. If you do, you can override that with the with the ratio options here. But let's swap this vertical and horizontal and see what happens. So you see that it basically redesigned the page so that the vertical would be a full crop and the horizontal would be a full crop. Now, to create a little bit more dynamism, because the verticals on top on both of these, I'm probably going to grab these and swap those. Right? Isn't that nice? Now, let's talk a little bit about how we can move photos, not only swapping them, but different locations on the page. So let's take this photo and I'm going to put it underneath the flowers. So you'll notice that if I put it over a photo, it's going to circle that entire photo in yellow. But if I put it under it, it's going to highlight where that photo is going to be. Here it's going to be in between. I'm going to put it under this photo. And so you'll notice, let me undo that. So we're taking this photo from this column of images and we're plopping it under this one. Right? Isn't that nice? And that's part of the great thing about drop zones. Now let's say, you know what, maybe I don't want this photo to be in there. I'm going to remove that photo. We don't have to worry about trying to find a new layout. If I remove that photo, I just right-clicked on that. It's going to completely redesign. So those are just a couple tricks. You can also grab a photo from your image well, and you can swap it with a photo here, or we can put this photo underneath or between any other photos. So that's pretty cool. All right, now let's do something a little bit different. Okay. Here we go. Let's take this drop zone here, and you'll notice that the photos are being cropped and squished. So that's because this drop zone is set to fill. If we click this fill fit button or hit the F key, it's going to fit those ratios back in together here. And now we can choose to align the photos within the drop zone. So I'm going to use this icon here to align the photos right within the drop zone. And there we go. Now let's go ahead and bring this all the way out. So now the photos are going in rows, but maybe what if I wanted this photo to be a square and I want this photo to be big with these two photos next to it, but I can't move this photo where I want to because it's going to go underneath both of those photos. That's because these photos are being aligned in rows. And this icon that looks like little dashes of images underneath the wrench icon is going to change the direction of the drop zone. So I'm going to click that, and now our drop zone is going up and down. And I'm going to take this image and move it over there. Let's go ahead and move this one back to original, and this one go to square. So this is really key. Notice when I click this versus this. And if you ever start getting into a drop zone, you don't really like what you've created, you can always hit this little reset icon, this little back arrow icon. And that will reset everything except for the ratios. So I'm going to put this back here. So you have a lot of control over, how you want these drop zones to work and how you want to interact with them. So as you get past the auto design, start playing around with how you're moving photos around, playing around with the alignments, playing around with how drop zones work. And you have a lot of control, ton of control. Now let's take a look, a little bit look at some of the black and white options, etc. So know that the black and white, you can change the entire drop zone and you have control of the contrast, or you can do just one photo at a time well, I don't like this, this is how you would do it. If I want to change just this one photo to original color or to sepia or something, that is underneath the photo. So the icons on the right are all of the photos in the drop zone. The icon underneath a photo is only that photo. So let's go ahead and change all of these back to the original color. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And then another kind of key, that girl looks like she's picking her nose. Another key thing too is this little left and right arrow lets you change the direction of a photo. In this spread, that doesn't quite matter, but sometimes you'll end up with a spread where you just want the people facing a different direction. You know, maybe you want to flip this layout using this button. This will flip the layout. And then maybe you really want this photo to be facing this way, or vice versa. So that's how you flip those. So sometimes flipping the photo might result in a better weight of the layout, where the direction of somebody is playing better. So just some things to think about there, and hope that helps with giving you more control over the layouts. Now let's go in, let's create, let me go ahead and change this back. Okay, so here we have this grid, right? I am going to change all of these to square. And let's say you want to create something that has a little bit more dynamism to it. So I'm going to take this photo and drop it. Oh, I want to drop it between these going up and down here. So do y'all remember what you need to do there? So we're going to flip this so everything's up and down. Now I'm going to swap these. I'm going to take this photo and put it between these guys, and that's going to make these photos much bigger. And then I want to do this on the same side, on this side. So I'm going to take this photo and put it between those guys. So now we've created, you know, something a little bit different than you might get from the auto design or from the quick design picker, etc. So now I'm going to go ahead and save that to my designs. Right, I've saved that to my designs. So now at any time, let's say, let's go into the layouts here. Let's say we have this layout, but I have that design saved, and I know that if I have 15 photos, I can always grab that design. So I'm going to go to my designs, and there's that design I saved. And now I can replicate that design at any time. That's just with this pin icon. In a little bit, I'll show you how to save out an entire design set. So actually, let's do that now. So let's say we love this design. We want to replicate this album over and over again with different clients. I can go to Save as Design Set. Let's name this to, this is Munoz Photography. Album set. And this is, so whenever we save out design sets, we can always filter them. So I'm going to put wedding as my type of design set, and I'm going to go ahead and save that. For embedded resources, this is for all of those PNGs, etc. This album doesn't have any PNGs, but if it did, it would save those also. So I'm going to hit save. Let it do its thing. It's going to take a little bit to save that out. Now, let's go ahead and clear this design. Now, when I go to auto design, here we have the auto design. Under design style, we have the Munoz Photography album set there. And I'm going to hit design. And we should get pretty much the same exact design applied. Oops, I didn't choose the right amount of pages. But it's going to use all of those designs dynamically. And when I go into my design sets, I can choose that there, or I can go into my design sets and I can choose the Munoz Photography one under there. I probably have to restart. It looks like we have a little bug. Probably just have to restart the computer to show those to you. But your design sets will be saved and you can use them over and over again, like we did in the auto design. And that gives you a lot more control, especially if you're doing a lot of like high school seniors where the albums are very similar. So now let's take all of these skills that we just learned and let's go take a look at wall art. So here we have some beautiful wall art, but let's say we want to do, let's do this one right here. Let's say instead of this, let's get rid of that guy. Let's say we want to do a 24 by 24 over here, and we have this one, but let's say we want more photos in here. How would we do that? Let's double click on this acrylic print, and then you see we have a drop zone, right? Just a regular old drop zone. So I'm going to hold down the Option key, and actually I'm gonna hold down the Shift key too, so I keep my ratio. I'm gonna bring that in, and that'll give me a white background. And then let's go ahead and take a gander and look for those beach shots. Where did those beach shots go? Did I skip them over? Oh, there we go. So here's more beach shots. So we see these little ones denote that they've been used already on this gallery. So I know which the other ones I want to use, and I'm going to drop those in there. Now we have all of the photos in here. Let's go back to this view, and we can see they're all in there just like that. So I'm going to open that back up. Oops. I'm going to open that back up by double clicking on this. And let's move some things around. You know what? Let's go ahead. I'm going to drop this photo out of here and bring this one up and over. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the fill. That's covering everything, right? So one of the things that I didn't show you in Album Builder is that drop zones have layers, just like Photoshop has layers. So let's go into our layers. And I'm going to move this to the back. So now these photos are on top. Let's go ahead and take this drop zone, move it over here. I'm going to change this to 1:1 ratio. And then let's add some spacing. So under my toolbox, I've got some spacing. Let's go ahead and add a white keyline stroke to all of those. And this isn't probably something that I would personally do, but I think there are a lot of types of clients that would like something like this. That alignment looks just a little bit off. I'm going to open that up and move this over just a little bit there, trying to create some better spacing. There we go. Probably move these guys over just a little bit. Right, so this allows you to do a single image on a single canvas, but then also multiple images on one canvas or acrylic. We're actually printing on acrylic here. And give yourself just a ton more choices. So these are some advanced design techniques in Gallery Designer. You know, if you want to, you can then bring on some let's see if we can bring on some wedding stuff here. Let's see. Let's see. Maybe just this love. So I'm going to go ahead and open this guy up. Let's drop this love on here, and I'm going to change this to white. And increase that just a little bit. There we go. All right, so there we go. So a lot of design choices here, right? We've added a text overlay. You could add text to that if you want. Multiple images on top of another image onto one acrylic. So those are some advanced design techniques for Gallery Designer. Now let's go ahead and jump into Card Designer. So I have a thank you card. So let's do something very similar that we did before, right? So let's bring this up here. Let's go ahead and take this photo and let's make this a little bit smaller. And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller and bring it in over here. Now, let's bring in a strip of photos right here. So I don't want to drop the photos into here. I'm going to drop them off onto the white space so that it creates a new drop zone for me. So let's go ahead and go back over here. And then if you are on two monitors, I really like to open up this window, and you can move this window onto a second monitor because they interact with each other. I don't have a second monitor open here, but I can show you where, you know, we could take these three photos and drag them over onto here. So if you have a second monitor, I like to keep this window on one monitor and then the design window on the other monitor. So now I have a secondary drop zone. I can create a film strip here. Let's go ahead and make these square. I'm going to drop those right into here, and we can add some spacing and some white key lines. There we go. So the point I'm trying to make is that we can drop in multiple photos, have photos layered, play around with text. So there's a lot that you can do beyond just the auto design and the quick design things that you're used to in Fundy Designer. Now, one thing I might do here, again, I personally don't usually do photos upon photos like this, but I want to use this as an example of what's possible. So in addition to that, let's go ahead and click this button and bring in a color block. So I'm going to bring in a color block here. Let's put this right about here. And I'm going to bring this all the way over. And let's change this color to white. And I'm going to have to go back. So I'm going to go to my layers and I'm going to move all the way to the back. And then I'm going to bring it one step forward. All right, so we have that nice strip, you know, and with that strip, I might even consider bringing this back out here to the edge because that looks kind of nice there. Let's go ahead and bring this down and bring this down over here. And then here we have this nice strip. If we wanted to, we could drop in, you know, the client's names. Make this a little bit smaller. The font size down a little bit. We won't worry about putting in the client names, but you know, we can bring in the client names here. So a lot of possibilities with all of the tools that you have here, and that color block and the text and everything that we've seen in Card Designer, you can also do in Album Builder. So these are a lot of the advanced design techniques you can use. So just to review, let's go back to Album Builder. Right, we can use ratios, we can move photos around, we can pin designs, we can move the layouts around. We can swap verticals and horizontals. We have the alignment tools within the drop zones. We can override ratios by using the Shift key. Change all of those photos on the left to square. When you drop photos in, you can drop them in next to each other. We can change a horizontal to a vertical. Right, so there's a lot of control we have here. So today I'm going to leave you with these tips. Thank you very much. If there's any questions, I'll go ahead and close this out. Jack, maybe you can see if there's any questions coming through Facebook we need to answer before we sign off. Remember, under the help menu, you have your video tutorials. So there are tutorials on drop zones, and that's what you need to watch for all of these ratio controls and everything like that. If you're looking for something particular, you can go to the manuals and you can search. Here are the keyboard shortcuts and also contact support. In addition, oftentimes, if you will just Google Fundy how to and what you're looking for, we have great SEO on our blog, and usually there's a tutorial. Like if you Google Fundy how to design guest books, Fundy how to use frames, it's going to pull up a number of tutorials for you, walk through, usually with videos, etc. So I hope that guy helped you a lot with all of your advanced designs and what you're trying to design with. If you have any questions, obviously comment. We'll keep monitoring the I can't talk today. We'll keep monitoring all of the comments and we'll get back to you. So let's go ahead. I'm going to pop my video back on just for a second. So thank you so much, guys, for attending today. Again, if you have any questions, just type it in the Facebook and we'll get back to you. Oh, it looks like there is one quick question coming in here. Oh, just a thank you from Jason over at Miller's. Thank you for watching, Jason. I hope this helps all of you. And then we do have some questions. Jerome asked, any plans the ability to import a folder of images? Currently, we're just dragging and dropping images. If you do want to work with folders, remember that Fundy works along with Bridge, etc. So you can drag and drop a folder from Bridge or the Finder into this thumbnail area, and it will import all of the items within there. So it kind of already has the ability if you use that workaround. But thanks so much, guys. Hope you guys are loving these webinars. Remember, if you go to fundy.com/webinars, we have a ton more webinars that you can watch from previous weeks if you want to learn how to use something specific. And I'll see you guys in a couple weeks. We're going to be live streaming some content from the Graphic Studio Castle, some just really short tips and stuff, and from Venice with 2Man. So that's coming up in a couple weeks. So let me know if you guys have any questions, and we're really excited, and I will talk to you later.